In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to know whether or not you need couples therapy. Nearly every day I get somebody reaching out to me asking if I know a good therapist, if they need therapy, or what they should do if their partner doesn't want to go to therapy. How is their marriage going to get better? Now, I want to start off by saying that I'm a firm believer that everybody could benefit from a really good therapist. But I know that therapy is not always a good fit for every person. So today I want to introduce you to a tool that can help you determine whether or not therapy is what you need right now in your relationship. It's called the PLISSIT model. The PLISSIT model was developed back in the 1970s by a man named Jack Annon to help sex therapists figure out what levels of intervention or support they needed to give to clients in order for their clients to get better from the issues they were dealing with. I love the PLISSIT model. I think it's a really powerful and simple tool, and I personally think it's a great model to use if you need an answer to the question of whether or not you need therapy right now. PLISSIT stands for permission, limited information, specific suggestions, and intensive therapy. And the PLISSIT model is almost always accompanied by the image of an inverted pyramid. The further down the PLISSIT model you go, the more intensive the intervention or the support that is needed in order to help overcome that specific issue that you're dealing with. But also, the vast majority of people can find solutions to their problems towards the top of this pyramid. So the farther down that pyramid we go, the fewer people actually need that type of intense intervention in order to address the issues that they're dealing with. Let me show you what I mean. So let's start at the top of the pyramid with permission. Sometimes all you need is for somebody to give you permission to voice your concerns about an issue that might have come up in your life or in your relationship. If you're dealing with something that causes you a lot of shame or embarrassment, or you're worried that people might judge you if you bring up this issue that you're dealing with, you might just avoid the issue altogether. So sitting down and having a conversation with somebody who's warm, who's receptive, who's non-judgmental could help you have a really great breakthrough. Maybe you recently had a baby and you're noticing that your libido levels are really low right now and you have no idea why, and it's kind of embarrassing and you don't know who to talk to about it and you're beating yourself up for it and you feel ashamed about it. Simply talking to somebody who may have been through that before or who simply knows that that's a pretty normal thing could help you overcome the shame, gain some understanding, and get everything that you need to move forward. Now, if that problem persists, you could move on to the next phase in the PLISSIT model, which is limited information. After receiving permission, it is really common for people to just need a little bit of information about how to deal with a problem they might be facing. For example, maybe you're dealing with some money issues right now, and everybody's telling you, you need a budget, you just need to stick to your budget. But you're not a numbers person, you've never put a budget together before, and you don't even have the faintest idea of where to start. Taking a budgeting course where you could watch somebody set up a budget from scratch and show you how to maintain it could be all you need to have that light bulb flick on in your brain and help you realize, oh my gosh, that's what I need to do in order to follow a budget. Now, if you still need some help after you got limited information, no big deal. The PLISSIT model's got you covered. The next step in the PLISSIT model is specific suggestions. Sitting down with an educated and well-trained expert to help you come up with a game plan of how to implement these things that you're learning in your relationship could be a huge game changer when it comes to dealing with some of the problems you've got going on. For example, if you're dealing with anxiety, you could sit down with a trained expert and they could help you come up with a plan of how you deal with your anxiety moving forward. They might help you identify what triggers your anxiety. They might help you understand better what happens in your body, what to look for when that anxiety starts to kick in. And they could help you come up with a list of things or a game plan to enact when you do feel anxious so that you can calm yourself down and not get swept up into a panic. These specific suggestions could be the tools that you need in your tool belt to help you tackle the problems that you're facing in your life right now. After you've gone through permission, limited information, and specific suggestions, if you still are dealing with that issue, a great resource is intensive therapy. That's what therapists are for. They're there to help us with difficult, complex problems that are weighing us down in our life. Now, just a piece of advice, if you seek out a therapist, this therapist should be trained in helping people with the issues that you're dealing with right now. Therapists are a lot like doctors. If you've got a sore foot, you're not going to go see an ear, nose, and throat doctor. And if you're having marriage issues, you're probably not going to want to go meet with a therapist who specializes in eating disorders for teenagers. And the reason for that is because a good therapist will help you investigate all the facets of your life that are contributing to the problem that you're facing. They'll look at your emotional history, your physical well-being, your spiritual well-being. They'll look at your interpersonal relationships with your family members and friends, and they'll help you sort through all of these different dynamics that might be contributing to these problems that you're facing in your life and help you pick them apart and heal from any wounds that have been inflicted on you in the past. And if you choose to go that direction, you want to make sure that you're doing it with somebody who is trained, somebody who knows what they're doing, because therapists, if they're not trained, can actually do more harm than good. So, to summarize, if you are experiencing problems in your relationship and you're wondering, do we need therapy? Go through the PLISSIT model. First, have an open, honest conversation with somebody who knows what they're talking about, who's also unbiased, non-judgmental, and trustworthy, and see if that helps you get a little bit of clarity around the issue that you're dealing with. Next, seek out some limited information. Take a workshop, read a book, listen to a podcast, get educated about the issues you're dealing with. Next, if you still need help, seek out some specific suggestions. Find an educated expert who specializes in helping people with the problems that you're dealing with and see if they have any advice for you. See if they have any exercises or they can help you come up with a game plan. And if all that fails, then go to a therapist. It's worth pointing out that a therapist could absolutely help you go through every single phase of the PLISSIT model. They could be there through the permission, the limited information, the specific suggestions, and the intensive therapy, but it's also not necessary. I know some people have an aversion to therapy. Maybe your partner has an aversion to therapy, and if that's the case, don't start with a therapist. A lot of the time, you could solve your marital issues cheaper and faster if you don't turn to a therapist first. That's part of the reason I put a video out every week, because I'm trying to give people limited information and specific suggestions about how they could deal with some of the issues that they've got going on. I think a lot of couples rush to couples therapy to solve their problems a little bit too quickly. It's kind of like trying to kill an ant with a hand grenade. The intervention is a little bit too intense for the problem that you might be dealing with. So if you have one takeaway from today, I want you to just remember the PLISSIT model. Permission, limited information, specific suggestions, then intensive therapy. And if you want a great resource to get limited information and specific suggestions, I would recommend coming and checking out the Epic Marriage Club. It's where I give couples the tools and the resources that they need to get their relationship out of roommate syndrome and stay out forever. You can get a 7-day free trial. There's a link down in the description, or just go to epicmarriageclub.com/plan. Thanks for tuning in this week, and I hope to see you again next week.